Right, we're ready to continue on with Alabama. We'll ask Coach Johnson for some general thoughts on the game. Then we'll take your questions just for Dante and Alex, and then we will return and finish with Coach Johnson. So, Coach, would you begin?
Okay, well, congrats to Kentucky, their staff, their players. They came out and put an extreme amount of pressure on us defensively. We didn't do a great job of getting in our offense. They turned us over. They blocked shots. I don't know if I've ever been a part of a game where a team had 9 blocked shots in the first half. But they were active. Just weren't efficient on the offensive end. That carried over in defensively. We couldn't get our defense set, and we just struggled to score. Second half, we showed some life. Alex Reese, gave us some huge minutes. Dante gave us a lift in the second half. We cut the lead down a little bit, but just couldn't get enough stops. They have a really long team. Getting Reed Travis back obviously, helped them, those 8 points and 7 rebounds. But our guys fought. It wasn't because of a lack of effort. They just did a great job of disrupting us offensively and setting the tone in the first half, and it was uphill climb all night long.
All right, if you have a question for either Dante or Alex, raise your hand and we'll get a floor mic to you, and please direct your question to a specific player. Let's start on the aisle in the back. Go ahead.
Dante, just can you speak to some of that defense that Kentucky had? It seemed like they came at y'all physically in the first half, and I mean, obviously you had a kind of rough go getting started offensively.
Yeah, like Coach said, they came out with energy. They're a long team. They had plenty of block shots in the first half. Their energy on defense was pretty good. You got to give it to them.
Raise your hand if you have a question for either of the student athletes. Raise your hand. All right, let's go back to the back on the aisle.
Alex, just talk about your offensive game. Obviously, when guys like Dante, Kyra, and Tevin are struggling, you got your shot off and were able to make something happen. Just talk about your night offensively.
I feel like I was able to knock down shots. My teammates were able to get me, good looks, and I was just able to knock them down once I got into a little rhythm.
Raise your hand. Other questions for either of the student athletes? Hands up. All right, let's go to the front row.
Dante, you've been a team first player all season long and a team leader. What do you think the biggest reason is for the team's inconsistencies throughout the season?
I feel like probably honestly our energy coming out into games, and sometimes in the second half I feel like our energy be up and down. That's a pretty much what our inconsistency is, and probably like attitude and stuff like that, commitment.
You got time for maybe one more for either? Raise your hand. All right, last one right on the front row. Go ahead.
Dante, I know you wanted to win the game first and foremost, but you scored your 1,000th career point. You're an Alabama native and put the jersey on for 4 years. How big a thrill is that for you to have that kind of career here at Alabama?
It's amazing. I love it here at Alabama. The 4 years been great. The people around me, coaching staff, teammates, managers, you name it, it's been amazing. It's a family, and I love these guys to the heart.
Thank you, Dante and Alex. You can return to the locker room. And we'll take questions for Coach Johnson. If you'll raise your hand, and we'll get a floor mic to you. Let's start right on the front row on the left.
Hey, Coach Johnson, if by chance Sunday you do not hear your name called on the NCAA show, is this team prepared to accept an NIT bid?
Yes. We are. We need as many games as we can get. We got a young guard, and you saw Alex Reese have one of his best games in a while. He's kind of been in and out of the rotation. So we still got quite a few guys returning, so we can use the practice.
Question in the back on the aisle.
Avery, you talked about their defense, early, but how much did their aggressiveness inside, and especially around the basket, maybe shock y'all a little bit? It just seemed like you weren't prepared for it at certain points.
How was it going to shock us? And we've already played them this year. Nothing that they did really shocked us. They outscored us in the paint. I think in our first game they had 7 offensive rebounds. Tonight they had 12. So I don't think it was a shock. It's not like we played a team tonight that we hadn't played against before. And a lot of these kids have been competing against each other, in high school, AAU level. So I think Galen Smith and P.J. Washington even played on the same team. So it's nothing that they did really shocked us. We just didn't have that extra burst that we needed to be successful. And I think it was more about our decision-making on drives, pick-and-roll coverages that really hurt us tonight.
Question on the left side.
Coach, obviously, I certainly don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows what will happen on Sunday. But if you're sitting there, first 4 teams out, second 4 teams out, somewhere in that range, and Dante just said that the problem in a lot of the games this year was energy and attitude. How disappointing is that for whoever's responsible for it?
Well, the main thing is, I think our kids are great kids. And I just think it's more about the attitude towards the small, finer details of basketball, whether it's, diving for a loose ball, spacing on the floor, just understanding that you have to have the right mindset when we run a play. All 5 guys got to be on the same page. So, I think that's more of what he's alluding to. And I thought sometime in the second half, our energy levels weren't as good as it should have been. And that's something that we had to take a look at. Yesterday, I thought we were good in the second half. I thought we had a good burst at South Carolina. But some of our last games to finish at home, we just didn't have that extra gear. And it seems like some of the other teams got a little bit stronger and faster. And we were still in the first half mode.
Question on the front row on the aisle.
Coach, you mentioned, with Kyra being a young point guard, you need to get him more games. And from tonight, Kentucky was throwing different defenses at him. He had a few turnovers in the beginning of the game. You being a former point guard, how do you keep his psyche into the game throughout? Because, of course, you want to get him to get his rhythm back going.
Yeah, he's a pretty level-headed kid. That's why we loved him. And even in the recruiting process, we thought, he could go through some adversity and still handle it. And we just didn't know we were going to get him a year early. But he's a great kid, good family. Mom's a really smart lady. Dad's both of them are hardworking people, both mom and dad. So he's pretty resilient. So I just think, we'll get him a couple of days rest, and wherever we end up, he'll come back out and try to, play much better, and we'll do whatever we can to help him continue to grow and develop into the type of guard that he needs to be successful.
Question on the left side.
Just to follow up, Coach, when you talk about attention to small details, diving for loose balls, all those things that can make a difference in 2 or 3 games, do you see going forward that those improvements can be made where you're not sitting on the bubble on this day?
Absolutely. Obviously, I expected a little bit more in year 4. You guys who are on the beat with me every single day, I haven't backed off from it. But, when you're out of position and you lose some close games, I don't know how many teams have lost as many buzzer beaters as we've lost this year in close games and games in the last 4 minutes. So just being able to close out games and learn from those situations, there's still some growth there, but we're not as far off as a lot of other teams around the country. I think we're close. We just got to get over the hump.
There's one more opportunity this year, but are you looking forward to next year?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Especially with Kyra, Alex Reese, a lot of these guys that are coming back, Galen Smith. I don't think Herb Jones played his best basketball at the end of the year. Petty, Dejon, just a lot of these guys. I think obviously got some talented kids coming in. So I think we're in a good spot, and Alabama basketball, the following that we have from our fans and the passion that our fans display, whether we win or lose. You got to take it both ways. They really care about Alabama basketball, and a lot of it's because we've gotten them hyped up over the last 3 years to expect more. So I'm really excited about moving forward.
We have a question on the right side, and then we'll take the last question over here on the left.
Avery, just from a big picture perspective, how would you assess your first 4 years at Alabama?
Wow. I don't want to necessarily give it a grade. I think it's to be continued. You know, people talk about, well, Colin Sexton hit a shot to help us get in the tournament. Well, you want to have good players to help you get in the tournament, and we advanced for the first time in a long time, and we were expecting a little bit more to do it by committee this year since we didn't have that first team all SEC guy outside of Kyra making the all freshman team. But I just think it's to be continued. I think, you know, we have to get in the postseason wherever we land, and then I'll have a little bit more of a concrete answer for you when our season at whatever point is officially over. But I think we still have some room to grow wherever we land in the postseason, and I'm hoping that's the NCAA tournament.
Last question, second row.
Back on January 5th, when you did beat Kentucky, where did you think the trajectory of the team was at that point?
Well, the way we beat them, obviously if Hero would have thrown in that last second shot when we were out of position, we would have been deflated. So I was still kind of in the middle. You know, it's the SEC. We knew it was tough, and you know, I wasn't expecting A&M to throw an off-balance buzzer beater on us, and a lot of unexpected things happened. That's now reality. But we came into this tournament trying to control our own destiny, and playing against a team that was well rested, and you know, waiting for us and trying to even the series up. They were ready to go, and we just didn't have that extra burst tonight. But our guys played hard.
And last question, the scheduling analytics, you know, all the effort that you put forth towards that, how much do you think that's going to factor in, you know, come Sunday? And, you know, I mean, do you think that effort was necessary?
I think it is going to be factored in at a high level. You know, Northeastern's going to the tournament, right? And Liberty's going to the tournament. So I keep going on, and look at how tough the SEC is. We have some, outside of obviously what the glaring losses are, hey, Ole Miss twice, once when they were ranked, a lot of quadrant one wins. You know, hopefully we'll be able to sneak in.
Thank you.
Thanks.